Hello and welcome to the wonderful world of math review. Today we're going to be looking at decimals with base 10 blocks and how we can use that to represent decimals and get the correct answer when we are figuring out the place values. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at some representations of the base 10 blocks, and I'm going to focus that a little bit for us. Okay, so first things first, we need to look at what these different values mean. First, we have this huge cube, and this is our largest value. No matter what, this is our largest. Next up is we have the square, and this square takes 10 of these to fit into one of those cubes. So this is our next value down. After that, we have the stick. The stick is, again, taking 10 of those in order to fit into one square. And last but not least, we have the tiny guy. The tiny guy, again, takes 10 tiny guys to fit into one stick. And it is our smallest in value when we're looking at decimal places. So what we're going to do is we're going to be using that knowledge of the biggest being the cube all the way down to the smallest being our tiny guy. And we're going to take that information and we're going to use that when we solve these problems. If you follow along with the steps that I'm going to lay out for you today, it is nearly impossible to get the wrong answer. So we're going to want to always represent those 4 different shapes. So on your paper, anytime you see a problem like this that I'm going to show you in a second, you're going to want to draw out these 4 shapes. I've got my cube, my square, my stick, and my tiny guy. Always in that order, and always all 4 of them. If drawing a cube is hard because it is a different type of shape to draw, another suggestion would be to either draw a window pane type thing to represent the cube or a box with the letter C in it for cube. All of those would work as long as you can distinguish it from the square next to it. Okay, so again, we need all 4 of these every time, no matter what the problem states. Let's take a look at one to get started, and I think it'll make more sense when we use it. Okay, this up here at the top of our practice point set 16, this is page 1, is going to be just again explaining how the cube is our largest in value and our tiny guy is our smallest. Okay, so what we do is we always look at the problem and we see what shape is representing the number 1. In other words, what shape is representing our whole number. We know that in decimals, our decimal point goes after our whole number. Okay, just to the right of it. So if this represents a whole number, then we know our decimal point is going to need to go right after that. So let's go ahead and work that out, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to draw my 4 shapes like I was explaining to you before. I'm going to have my cube, my square, my stick, and my tiny guy. Now, what I just told you was that this represents our whole number and that the decimal goes to the right of it. So here's that shape, and I'm going to put my decimal to the right of it. Now that I know where my decimal goes and what each value is, I'm able to look at the figures down here and fill it in really easily. So first I look at this and I say, okay, how many cubes do I have? I have 2. So I put the 2 right below my cube. I bring my decimal point down, and then I look at how many squares do I have? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put a 3 under my squares. Do I have any sticks? I look up here and the answer is no. And that's okay. If I don't have any sticks, I put a 0 in that place because I don't have any. Last but not least, I look at the tiny guys, and in this case I have 6 of them. I am already done. That is all I had to do. So because I used my visuals of each of the different values and I recognized where my place value went, I was able to get the right answer of 2 306 thousandths. Let's look at the second one. Okay, we're going to use the same idea. In the second one, I yet again have the big cube being my representation for 1. I'm going to draw out all 4 of my shapes. And I'm going to use a C in the square this time to represent my cube. Okay, so again, the number 1 is represented by a cube, or that's also known as my whole number. So my decimal goes to the right of it. I'm going to look down here to see how many cubes do I have, if any. I have 2. So I put a 2 in my ones place. I bring my decimal down. Do I have any squares this time? No, I don't. So again, that's fine. I just put a 0 underneath my squares. How many sticks do I have? I have 7. I'm going to write my 7. And then I'm going to check out my tiny guys. I have 5. Done again. So my answer for this problem is that it is 2 and 75 thousandths. Okay, in this situation right here, you'll notice that it is no longer the cube that represents the value of 1. And that's fine. I still draw out my cube, draw out my square, my stick, and my tiny guy. Again, remember, no matter what it is, you draw it out the same every time. This time though, I'm noticing that my square is my ones value. This is going to be the whole number, and so therefore my decimal goes right after it. So it is not going to go after the cube this time. It is going to go after my square. Okay, now let's go down and take a look. I don't have any cubes. That's fine. So because of that, I'm just going to leave it as a 1. I'm sorry, as a 0. Okay. Do I have any squares? Yes, I do. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to put 4 there. I bring down my decimal point. Do I have any sticks? No, I don't. So again, another 0. And last but not least, my tiny guys, I have 4 of them. So my answer is 4 and 4 hundredths. I'm going to write that in right here. There you go. That's decimals represented using base 10 blocks. If you have any questions about this, please make sure to ask your teachers. Thank you.